Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Tuesday, January the 14th, 2014. We got some 14s today. I'm beginning this morning with an article from the Vatican Project, and I have a lot of articles, and some of them are related to each other, so I'll probably move through as quickly as my computer will permit. From the Illuminatis in 2014, our goal is to make the world citizen defensive using Psyops and deceptive usurping operations. If you want a little understanding of the plan of the evil Illuminatis, the Cabal, this is a good source, this article. It has some interesting information in it. And the Vatican Project always, I like the way they treat almost all the subjects that they deal with. And tragically, from Eco News, Supreme Court denies family farmers the right to self-defense from Monsanto lawsuits. This is some pretty big, bad news for today, and there's a little more information on it out there if you want to find some. Here's a discussion on the Ron Paul forums on the same topic. Supreme Court hands Monsanto victory over farmers on GMO seed patents ability to sue. This means that the Supreme Court held biotech giant Monsanto's claims on genetically engineered seed patents and the company's ability to sue farmers whose fields are inadvertently contaminated with Monsanto materials. This is absurd if you've studied law at all. This is probably one of the most absurd decisions that's ever been made, one of the most groundless and just patently wrong. And I will pass to another article on GMOs. See, the feds, man, they're getting paid off, guys. Federal law would make GMO labeling voluntary, preempt state laws. So Monsanto is a very large corporation controlling a lot of money, and one of the great perpetrators of evil. I mean, GMOs make people sick, and what they want is to own life. They want to patent life, and they want to own genetic material, which is, it's not exactly precisely the same thing as life, but very closely related. And this is clearly, anybody who has studied the history of Lucifer and understands his drive to, his hatred, first of all, for God and for life and for people, and his drive to dominate and destroy. The Bible says the devil only comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Then Jesus said, but I come that they might have life, and that more abundantly. So that's the balance, and that's the struggle right there. And if we can align ourselves with life, Jesus giving us abundant life, we will come out on top, because he sits far above all rule and authority and power and dominion at the right hand of God the Father. Another article from the Vatican Project. You are not going to believe what I just found. These people want to make pedophilia normalized. And this isn't really related to anything else that I'm discussing today, but we've been watching a show on Netflix called Prime Suspect. It's BBC, and it goes back into I think the early 90s. And the focus of some of those shows are the rampant pedophilia in England. And it doesn't candy coat it, really. There are some things in the show that might be offensive to some Christians, but they did seem to be trying to expose, at least in the 90s. We haven't gotten up in more current episodes yet, but they evidently were trying to expose the extent of high-ranking involvement in pedophilia. And from Blacklisted News, check out the IRS's stunning admission of its own mafia tactics. And in the 3rd century AD, Emperor Caracalla famously remarked of Rome's tax policy, "For as long as we have this," pointing to his sword, "we shall not run out of money." And then this little blurb says, of course, Rome did run out of money. But I have a little more information on the IRS. That's kind of why I had that article as an introduction to this from Infowars.com. Obama supporter leading IRS probe visited White House for 7 hours. And the other day, it might have been yesterday, I mentioned having standing in order to file lawsuits concerning the executive branch having overstepped its bounds. And I would guess that the people who were victims of IRS probes would have standing to file lawsuits. That, yeah, the executive branch went beyond its bounds. And here's the tie-in right here. And from Nasara News, Issa Republicans blast decision not to pursue criminal charges in IRS scandal. Well, you know, can the people who actually were injured, who have standing, not file a class action civil lawsuit? Seems to me that something, you know, and certainly it would be for a lot of money, because we all know how much it costs to get the kind of professional help one needs when one is audited. And also, I would add to that cost the stress of going through an audit. And I've read before statistics on how many people commit suicide because they have problems with the IRS. And that is simply not right. That is not government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That is government against the people and for the corporations and for the banks and by a bought and paid for Congress and the other branches as well. Obviously, the legislative branch, when they're saying that Monsanto can file lawsuits against family farmers who inadvertently get some of their genetic material in their fields, it's pretty obvious that the courts have been bought and paid for as well. Here from ZDNet is an article, "Google's reach expands into your home more via $3.2 billion Nest acquisition." And Nest is a software by which your whole home is controlled. Essentially, here's a paragraph, well, the summary. Nest gives Google some design know-how as well as a lot of home energy data. Google's tentacles are spreading into your home even more. If you know, Comcast offers this too, this home control stuff, where you can remotely control things in your home. I can see where that's appealing, but you really have to consider the trade-off. It's huge. You're giving these companies access to your home, which of course they have through smart meters anyway. But this is a serious issue. The tentacles are extending, as the blurb says. And in this kind of a related issue of letting our lives be controlled by these, electronic accessories, right? From The Week, everything you need to know about Japan's population crisis. Japan's birth rate is plummeting. Why have so many young Japanese given up on getting married? And with access to tech in ways that are meant to fulfill us without human interaction, it's kind of tragic. Here's the paragraph that's telling. Is celibacy syndrome a myth? Not entirely. There clearly is a subset of Japanese youth who have withdrawn from dating. Instead, they focus on online porn and games like Nintendo's Love Plus, in which players conduct a relationship with an anime girlfriend. Hundreds of thousands of young men are known as hikikomori, shut-ins who eschew human contact and spend their days playing video games and reading comics in their parents' homes. But most Japanese young people do have friends in relationships. They're just not settling down. So although this isn't the only reason, it is a significant contributor to the reason why Japan's population is plummeting. And this is relevant to liberty and what we're trying to become aware of as we raise our consciousness is the, whatever monkey before 100th, and hopefully we'll get to the 100th monkey soon, and everybody will be aware of all these significant issues that are confronting us. But this aspect of it is the cabal have planned this. They want people to stay in their homes and be isolated and play video games and not live real life because it does lower the population. They want to get rid of us. And this is just a part of the plan, along with pandemics and along with nuclear radiation. And they have many means toward this goal of reducing the population. So any way that we can find to trick them and have children and grandchildren, awesome. Go for it. Here from Adask's Law, undeniable cell phone link to brain tumors. We get a lot of news that we might feel helpless, we can't do anything about. Well, guess what? This is something you can do something about. Use your cell phone less, use a speaker, put it somewhere that's not that close to you when you're not using it. Don't carry it on your body, etc., etc., etc. And speaking of, ways that they're trying to kill us, Alex Jones had an interesting guest on yesterday. And here is a part of the interview, actually it might be the entire interview, Forces Align for Rebellion. And the guest was talking about how to push back, and particularly how to resist when it comes to biological affronts. And the guest has this website, Eugenics Therapeutics. And I've scanned this website a little bit. A lot of it, to me, isn't as significant as it might be because it pertains to finding cures for cancer. Well, I happen to believe that there are already many natural cures for cancer in existence. But this is great that they're taking a scientific approach and trying to do something good. But the main point that the guest raised and the main benefit of this corporation is that they are developing a means to completely block viruses. That means if a pandemic like Ebola were released, these people are working on means to prevent that from harming us. So one by one, if we can overcome these issues, and the gentleman also spoke about other technologies that are being stifled, which we're pretty much all aware of, energy and transportation, just many forms of technology that have been stifled that can almost instantly bring an end to some of the problems that we are facing on planet Earth. From Electronic Frontier Foundation, Copyright Week, Taking Copyright Back. This is in the week leading up to the 2-year anniversary of the SOPA blackout protests. EFF and others are talking about key principles that should guide copyright policy. Every day we'll take on a different piece, exploring what's at stake and what we need to do to make sure the law promotes creativity and innovation. We've put together a page where you can read and endorse the principles yourself. Let's send a message to DC, Hollywood, Silicon Valley, Brussels, and wherever else folks are making new copyright rules. We're from the internet, and we're here to help. EFF, I really appreciate their point of view. They just seem to be very intelligent, very balanced, very focused, and they in what they're doing, they excel. Great example for all of us. From RT, Reddit, Mozilla rights groups to protest online snooping in memory of Aaron Swartz. And they have named February 11th, 2014 as the day we fight back against mass surveillance. So you might want to mark that on your calendar and just be aware of that. From Natural News, this isn't necessarily our source of good news today, but some important news, especially in light of the Supreme Court decision on Monsanto. Natural Grocers pledges no aspartame, no trans fats, no irradiation, but GMOs still present in 50% of products. So they're stating that their target is to phase out GMOs completely by 2018. And Trader Joe's says absolutely none of its private label products contain GMOs and haven't since the early 1990s. So I'm a big fan of Trader Joe's, and enough said there. But Whole Foods, whole paycheck. Trader Joe's is not quite that expensive, and their products are just very high quality as far as taste and ease of preparation, and it's so amazing and wonderful that they don't have GMOs in their private label products. And this is good news from Natural News pertaining to GMOs. Maine governor signs GMO food labeling bill. So that is moving ahead in Maine. Of course, as I said, that there's a federal push that would kind of make this a moot point, but it's great to see states requiring labeling of GMOs. Kudos to Maine. And for our good news, it's not really news, but from Washington's blog, Building a Global Movement to End All War, and they're talking about a movement to end the institution of war as an acceptable enterprise for the human species. So there is hope for the future. There are people moving toward ending war, and with that also, I know Benjamin Fulford's blog came out a day late this week, but of course there's always the statement in his blog that there is a push to end poverty and to restore the earth. And Benjamin, his blog this week, nothing extraordinary, just, the bad guys are getting arrested and the good guys are going to win. So we hope and pray that that is so. And we thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.